is the 89th episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the first week of May 2012. This episode is titled Summer 12 Jam. CloudFocus Weekly is sponsored by Arkus, your cloud computing experts. I'm your host, Jason Atwood, and joining me, app pick in hand, is Justin Edelstein. I was going to say something nice about you, but then I kind of went out the window.
Yeah, no need.
We have a glorious amount of stuff to talk about today. Unlike some days where we actually had to boot some things out of our agenda today. So we have your very your 3 times a year blog posts, the summer or the blank rapid release rapid reaction.
That's right. Say that 5 times fast.
So this time it is summer, SUMMER 12 release.
Not Sumer?
No.
At least I spelled it right on the blog.
Yes. Unlike Mark Benioff's name, which you didn't spell right.
You know when
you literally should get kicked out of the MVP group.
You know when you read a blog post and it has like the thing that they originally wrote in striking through or struck through, and then it I should have done that.
You should have, but
oh, wow.
Well, it's funny because Google Docs knew that it was spelled incorrectly.
That was interesting.
Yeah. We also have some big win for Google in the government space, and then Salesforce acquires some more software, some more companies. So we'll talk about that.
Some more stuff.
And then we'll make our CloudFocus App Pick of the Week. Do you have an app pick this week?
I have one now.
Excellent. Great.
I had to think long and hard, but it's something I've been using the last week.
It's fun.
So I will talk about it.
You will pick that.
I'll pick it.
All right. So speaking of picks, let's start off with this week's blog post on blog.arkusinc.com.
Yep.
Called Salesforce Summer 12 Release Notes Rapid Reaction.
Yep.
This is when you read the release notes and then you
very quickly.
This
is a skim.
Really? Don't you read them?
I read them in depth, but I write this after I read them twice usually. I skim them once. And then I write this. Then I go back and read them.
Yeah, so I'm gonna out you.
Why are you outing me?
I'm gonna out you right here on the podcast.
Oh, don't out me.
Yeah, I'm gonna out
What'd
you.
I do?
Well, because after you wrote the blog post, you came to me and said, "You know what? I had a problem writing them this week, or this time."
I did.
Yeah. Why don't you explain why it is? Unless you don't want to be outed, then
I'll be outed.
It's not really an outing.
I didn't have a problem writing it.
You had a problem picking things.
I had a problem picking things, and it's actually. It's with good reason and with bad reason. So, with good reason, because there was a lot of things. There was just a lot of stuff. It's a big release. It's a huge release. So I had a problem picking. I don't want to write a whole dissertation about the release. I want to pick 4 or 5 things usually that I like. So I had a hard time doing that. The other reason why I had a hard time was because there was a lot of stuff in there that, in all honesty, I've never used. Enhancements to things that I don't use here at Arkus, and none of our customers use either. Things like chatter answers, things like live chat, things like knowledge. We don't have any customers that use knowledge still. Things
Agent.
like Service Cloud. I said Live Agent.
Yeah.
And in complete, open up the kimono when...
Whoa! Oh, that's ugly.
Ugly. When Spring 12 came out and Chatter Answers was released and Live Agent was released, I went out on a mission to set them both up and failed. I could not set them up.
Did you spell with 2 Fs? Because
no.
If you spell...
I tried really hard to set up Chatter Answers, couldn't do it. It was too complicated, nothing worked, it just didn't work.
Right.
And then I did live chat, and I got it to work 1 time. Like, it literally worked once, but then it stopped working.
Right.
Couldn't tell why, couldn't figure it out. I'm not stupid. Like, I set this stuff up for a living, and I could not, maybe not the greatest endorsement there for Arkus, but I could not get this stuff to work. So I did not want to write about these enhancements to things that I didn't think were really worthy of writing about, because
that we haven't really used.
Didn't really use them. So I wrote about the simpler things, the things that I saw in the release notes that I said, wow, okay, that's a good enhancement. It's tiny, it's small, but I use that every single day.
Right.
And that means something to me as a user, and I know it will mean something to my customers as users.
So, and I reread, I read the notes when they came out, like when the full notes came out, and then I reread them, I skimmed them this morning, in anticipation of this podcast, and now when you said something, it kind of made me think of something, which is there's a lot in the notes now that is under another level of pay. So there's a lot of licensing stuff now. When I started looking at data.com stuff. There's a huge section on data.com. Data.com clean.
Right. I wasn't going to write about that.
Right. And knowledge and there's so many things now that it's 184 pages. So like we used to say, the bigger the podcast, the bigger the release notes, the better. But now with so many different products and so many different pay products that we don't have access to because they don't allow them to have access to for developers. Sometimes they do, our partners, or because no one's really using them. It's kind of like, or none of our clients are using them. It's kind of tough because I'm reading through and I'm like, oh, that sounds cool, but I've never used that. So I've used Data.com, the one in our org. It's kind of neat. You can look stuff up. Never use these other ones because we haven't had the chance to. So it did strike me that release notes are becoming sort of very splintered in terms of all the licensing. And, it used to be, professional, group, enterprise, unlimited. Now it's like professional, group, enterprise, unlimited, data.com licenses. There's now another one there's like an enterprise. There's like there's corporate, and there's all these different ones. You're like, wow. I don't know how the Salesforce sales guys keep all this straight. Actually, I know how they do. They don't keep it straight. They come to us and ask us. So, all right. So, let's pick some of your favorites.
All right. Well,
give me one of your
my big favorite.
You picked a bunch.
I picked a bunch. One. My big favorite here is some of what they labeled other analytics enhancements.
Yep.
And essentially, what they've done here is allowed you to create or use new custom date fields. And when I go and I train users on list views and reports, they love when I say, when I put in a filter, date field greater than last week.
Right.
They're like, whoa, you can write last week in there? And I'm like, yeah, isn't that cool? And gets a big ooh and ah.
And in enhanced lists, too. Filters.
Right, lists and reports. So they've added a whole bunch more that are, to me, seem super useful. Like next N months.
Right.
So show me something that's where this date is, equal to the next N months.
Right.
Or greater than the next N months. Or N months ago.
Right.
That's really useful, right? I think, that language and putting the words, because that it's not hard coded. It just runs really nicely, right. and people like that. They don't want to have to go in and say, well, if I want to run a report that shows me things that happened, greater than the last 3 weeks ago.
Right.
I have to put in that date, but that date is that date as of today. But then tomorrow, it's no longer 3 weeks ago. It's
right.
3 weeks and a day ago. I just love those types of features, and those are the little things that I really enjoyed about this release. There were that was sort of the theme of my post, was that there was a lot of these little things that came out of, whether they were the idea exchange or the community, that I thought hit home for day-to-day use of the core Salesforce.com CRM system.
Yep. And that is actually a good one. It's funny, I've been using, so I had 3 examples today of using sort of this technology, but in other services. So Google Analytics, when you're looking at, they have a pick list for going back over values, and they're basically, it's like this year, last month, or this week, it's really poor. There's only 3 choices. The Cashfly, which hosts our podcast, they have the same thing. I was looking at the stats.
Actually, that one's, I don't like it.
It's horrible. No, I'm saying these are bad examples. Yeah. And then QuickBooks, I was running some reports in QuickBooks this morning, and the same thing. They have a bunch in QuickBooks. They have a lot, and they're all fiscal. They're fiscal year. But there was some that I couldn't get to, and I was like, oh boy, that would be a great one to have. And so it's nice that Salesforce is putting in.
Yeah.
Salesforce's reporting engine is still almost second to none. In terms of if you'll use another tool, any other reporting tool, whether it's QuickBooks, whether it's Google
can't
Analytics,
compare it to like a Crystal Reports or a big Cognos type engine,
there.
But it's getting there with the new release.
They almost charge for it.
Almost. But I mean, the ability to say, show me things N quarters ago.
Right.
Wow, that's really nice.
Yeah.
As a dynamic thing to save in a report. This is my what happened 6 quarters ago report.
And then for
dashboards, I click on it whenever,
right?
right?
If you think about dashboards, it becomes really, really powerful. So you can put these dashboards this quarter, last quarter, 5 quarters ago. I think it's because it'll help with the year-over-year stuff. So you can say this quarter and then 4 quarters ago. And then I'm gonna pick the one of yours that you brought up, and then we've actually gotten the chance to touch, which is the pilot of Salesforce Touch, or is it beta?
It's a pilot.
It's a pilot.
Beta.
I think it's a.
Can't remember.
Yeah,
beta.
Doesn't really matter.
I wrote it in my post.
Yeah,
beta.
It's beta. So beta to me is pretty open. Yes. Sure. Interesting. It's going to be out. The beta is going to be out in summer 12,
and you can get it in if you have a pre-release org right now. What we're seeing is what's available in those pre-release orgs.
Yes, and had a chance to actually play with it a little bit.
Right.
In a pre-release org, and it's nice. It's nice. Without a lot of data, it's hard to really get. There's some really nice pieces to it. It's all HTML5. It's all touchy. I'll tell you the one thing. We'll review it when it comes out and we actually get into our real production org. But I'm struggling with it because it's very limited what it can do
for now.
And then I go back to using my own production org, and I just log in via the web and just using the web, and I'm like, man, this is okay. It's not great, but it's okay. It does a lot. And it still does it in the Salesforce way. Salesforce, the Touch, looks like it's changing some of the way, like, related lists are in this pick list. Like, you pick a list of the related lists you want to see. So you can't see them all at the same time. You have to pick, like, I want to see contacts. No, I want to see contact roles. No, I want to see... So you can't see all of them. You can only see one of them at a time. That kind of stuff, like...
For now, we don't know
Yeah.
what it's going to look like in the future. This is their future. They slowly but surely, I imagine... feature parity between the app, the native app, and Touch will eventually just cross.
Yeah.
Like, eventually Touch will just surpass the app, and then we'll wonder if the app even ceases to exist.
Well, so you think the Touch app will become Salesforce?
Yeah. Why would you, if you're Salesforce, you just have this Touch interface that people just log in from the web, they get to it. Why would you want to upkeep not one, but two apps on each platform?
Oh, you're talking about the app itself. You're not talking about like the regular normal interface.
No.
You're talking
on the mobile device. Like, I can't imagine that
Chatter will go away. The
Chatter app, and the Chatter app, by the way, is out. The Summer 12 Chatter mobile app is out, and that's one of the big reasons, right? Like, these are now on different release cycles from the rest of the application. Chatter Desktop, Chatter Mobile, like all these little third-party apps. I feel like they're a pain.
I think they're probably a pain in Salesforce's side.
Yeah.
But Touch is not going to do things like alerting. It's not going to do native stuff. That the reason these apps are native, they have native capabilities like FaceTime, like whatever. That Touch through a browser is never going to do. So, I don't know. I think there's always a need. If I think of all the apps that I love on my device, native, like 99.99% of them are native and work great. I love the Chatter app. I love their Labs products. But anyway, all right. So good stuff. It's on blog.arkusinc.com.
I was gonna say next week, as I'm the blog master.
I
don't know if you've looked at the schedule, but I have you slated to write another post about the release notes.
Oh, you did? You changed it?
I changed it.
Oh, I already started my old blog post.
That's fine. That will happen in 5 weeks from now. I have you slated because as I then read through them in more detail, I had missed things that, so as a little teaser, there were a lot of, I called your blog post hardcore, Summer 12 hardcore. Like, there's a lot of core release bits and pieces that made its way into the Summer 12 that were like hidden gems, I feel.
Right.
Do
I have to go find them?
No,
or I should know them?
Well, you can. I listed them out for you, so you could just do a little Command F and find them in the doc. But
nice.
But there's another post coming about like another 4 or 5 features that are really subtle, but admins and users alike will love them.
Great. Great. Well, I will enjoy writing that.
You will.
Sounds like it's pretty much written, so
it's not written. The features are there. You just have to write about them.
All right, cool. All right, so next up is interesting news.
I find this interesting.
You added it to our agenda, you must have.
I did.
It's Google wins, the title of the blog, the post, and it's sort of business news, but Google wins Interior Department contract as cloud migration continues.
Right.
Basically, the government's been putting out and going cloud focused for a couple years now. The Obama administration started this by making all IT projects. When he took over, I think he said they all have to at least evaluate cloud technologies as part of their infrastructure.
Vivek Kundra, the former CIO of the United States of America, who spoke at Dreamforce, who now works at Salesforce as in their government sector. They did this whole thing at CloudForce DC in Washington about they launched the app exchange for government. Right. I looked at it. There's Congo Composer and DocuSign in there, but I don't really know how that is government specific. But
is the permissioner in there?
No, it's not. But there were school
compliance for Chatter in there.
No, there wasn't.
Humble
should
brag.
be though. The compliance one should be there. There's specific school student information system type stuff.
Yep.
There was a app called Basic Gov or something like that, how to manage things. But Salesforce themselves are moving into this government space, and the government themselves are saying, you were alluding to, and I cut you off. You have to evaluate these cloud services because they're gonna be more efficient. They're gonna save money. It's the way of the future. We have to move forward.
Right. And
the Department of Interior was, I think this dates back to 2 years ago, when they were evaluating doing collaboration and communication services, revamping their infrastructure for that, basically email, chat, online document collaboration, things of that nature. And they had chosen Microsoft in the cloud, so the cloud version of Outlook or Exchange, whatever it is, plus SharePoint in the cloud, things of that nature. And Google sued them. They said that wasn't fair because in the RFP or whatever it was, you included Microsoft. You said Microsoft has to be evaluated.
Well,
so that's not fair.
The words were Microsoft Business Productivity Online Suite. So basically,
BPOS is what it's called.
Yeah.
Thank you. You reminded me of the product name because I was evaluating it at one point against Google Apps at another prior venture. And they sued them. They said, this isn't fair. You're naming the product in the RFP.
Yeah.
That's not right. So 2 years later, they went back to the table and Google won the deal.
Well, not Microsoft. Only that, won. I don't know if the lawsuit was settled and then they won the deal or whatever, but they won the deal. It's been happening. Google has sort of been moving.
This was a big one.
Yeah. I don't know how many people in the Department of Interesting. Do you see the other groups that are on it? The GSA, the General Service Administration. I wonder if they planned their Vegas trip in Google Docs. That'd be funny. You don't know what I'm talking about at all. Wow. Anyway, the GSA is the group who had the $800,000 conference out in Vegas and wasted all the money, taxpayer money. They had for 300 people, $800,000.
Sounds like they had a good time.
Yeah, the people have been fired left and right because of it.
Yeah, but at least they had a good time.
With your money. All right. We're not going to get too political, but I just thought it was funny because I saw GSA and I'm like, oh, well, they're saving money in Google Docs and they're spending it on their conferences in Vegas.
So they're going to use Google Apps for Government, as it's called, for email, and then giving them the option to use Docs, Sites, and the Google Chat audio video.
So I have a question for you.
Go on. I'll try and answer.
We've had a recent podcast listener come in. We had a lunch with him the other day.
Oh yeah, we did.
And he said he gave us some concern about Google, saying that he doesn't trust them. I just want to take your take. Do you? And I feel myself being pulled towards this center as we use Google more and more. As Google Drive comes out and we evaluate replacing, one of our things we already use with Google Drive, and I'm feeling this pull, right? That I'm using Google more and more and more. Chrome I use more and more. Docs we use a ton now. We use Drive. That basically brings all of our stuff, all your base belong to us in Google. Do you trust them as a company?
Well, I'll say, first off, we're using Drive at Arkus. I'm not using Drive personally.
You can't.
Right.
You can't use it personal. You cannot use it personally and for.
Well, then there you go. I haven't put a document into Google Drive that wasn't already in Google. Let's put it that way. Like every.
Well, yet.
Yeah. Right.
Right, but we're evaluating putting all the stuff that we put in Jungle Disk today into Google Drive.
And I would. I don't have a problem with that at all, particularly because we're paying for that service. I think it gets a little murky when it's like a free thing, and here's this
Dropbox, or iCloud.
Yeah, but the thing is, I use all these other things, and I trust them just the same. To me, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, there was that little language blurb when the Drive came out at first, and it was like, ooh, this is a little weird language, but then they all have this weird language and you use them anyway, and it's like, all right, yeah. I mean, I use Google Apps at work for Arkus work constantly. I will say I don't really use a whole lot of their products personally. I have a Gmail account. Don't use it. It's my spam account. It's my account that I sign up for everything with.
Right.
When I don't want emails and such. I don't
Your
really
email account you use when you don't want email?
Yeah, like when you have to sign up, when you have to register for a website that you know is going to send you an email a day.
Yes.
I gmail.com. Yeah. That's what I do. Because I don't even have it set up in my mail client on my computer.
Right.
Because I don't even want it in there. I just know it exists as an email account that can store just tons of stuff in it.
As much spam as they can go out.
Right, as much spam as you want to send, it'll take it.
Do you want to drop the email address out on the...
I don't care. I don't really use Google Docs personally. I don't do that much personally with documents. Sort of weird. But I just don't. I don't have a lot of documents that I track. I don't have a big budget spreadsheet or anything like that. I don't fire up Microsoft Word to type stuff. I'm generally just writing emails and things like that. So I don't really have a big.
So
I
you
use
store
Evernote.
stuff in
Sure.
Evernote?
Yeah,
store stuff
I have things in Evernote that I have a note in Evernote. Passwords. So it's got all my passwords.
So what I'm saying, so it sounds like you trust the cloud.
Yeah.
Until otherwise.
If I didn't trust the cloud, I'd be hard pressed to do what I do for a living.
Yeah, and I think that's a good distinction. I want to run with that for a second. There is a distinction between something, and we at Arkus have made a decision to put out products and not make people pay for them. Compliance for Chatter and Permissioner. But the reason being that when you cross a line between paying and not paying, there's a different level of service and a different expectation level for that. So when I'm paying for Salesforce, and there is, well, I guess there's Chatter free, but whatever, I expect a higher level of trust with them because I'm paying them to do that. Google, I feel like the same way. Gmail, but we pay for Google Docs for Business or whatever that Google Apps. And I have a higher expectation for what I expect them to be doing, and so there's so many of these services out there. I do use Google Docs on the personal as well, and I have 2 separate accounts, and I keep them separate. I'm planning a camping weekend with the fathers in my neighborhood. Google Docs. I've been doing it for years. I start up this Google Doc, a spreadsheet. I have everybody goes in, picks what they're going to do, and we collaborate using that. I was recently watching, I was looking at Plone the other day. This is the software, open source software that's our website runs off of, and they have their whole roadmap now. They build their roadmap. They build in Google Docs so people can collaborate. Like the collaboration side of Google Docs is becoming so good that I find more and more people are using it.
It's insanely good.
It's insanely good. So, but again, this friend of ours was saying, hey, I'm moving all my stuff out. I'm going to move off of Gmail. I'm going to go to something like Rackspace. Now I use Rackspace as well. I will say, the nice thing about using Rackspace email, I even forget I use it. It's so reliable, so just works everywhere, never gives me a problem ever. Google Docs, Gmail, sometimes there's like a, you see like a password in whatever or something, but Rackspace, and you use Rackspace too, it's like rock solid. I've never even, it works so well. It's like the energy company. It's like Con Ed. I don't think about it until it breaks, and I don't ever think about it. But anyway, I just think it's interesting that, as we move down this road, are we going to get, more and more concerns? I think one of my predictions for 2012 was a big security breach of one of these social networks that was going to rock the world, and people were going to sort of tighten up on their social stuff. But all right, so good for you, Google. Keep Googling. Yeah, I mean, there's a non-trust for companies when they get so big, and I think Google's so big now that people are stopping to trust them. It's like, we don't trust you anymore because you're so big. Speaking of big companies we do trust, Salesforce acquires a collaborative text editor called Stypi.
Yeah.
Stipe?
I don't know.
Horribly named. But interesting enough, basically, when I read this, I was like, oh, it's a Google Wave replacement. It's a Google Docs replacement. It's a collaborative, 2 people collaborating, or 3 or 4, writing a document together in real time and having real-time collaboration. So they bought the company. I don't think the price is the what they paid for is out.
No, it's not. But it's a real-time editor that has playback features, and you can invite people into it just by sending them a URL.
Yep.
Sounds like Google Wave to me.
Sounds like Google Wave. Sounds like Google Docs now.
Yeah.
Same thing, right?
Yeah. So let's speculate.
Where does this land in the product map? I mean, it's got
what is
Chatter.
What is this for?
I feel
creating files inside of Salesforce? Is this the start of the Chatter feed really being real time as opposed to just being called real time?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're going down this messaging thing, real time messaging.
Chatter
right?
Messenger.
Chatter Messenger. They have Chatter, which is a collaboration, but it's not real time. What they don't have is the thing that we use Google Docs for.
Right.
Is the storage and collaboration around documents, because Chatter isn't a document.
Nope.
And Chatter Chatter
files
Messenger,
are files, but you have to create them somewhere else.
right? And you can upload them,
Right.
But could you see uploading a document into? Here's a couple examples: uploading a document into Salesforce and then collaborating on it
Why
in
not
Salesforce.
starting the document from inside of Salesforce and
So-
having it just stored there?
Well, I don't know what they would call that, since they already have files, they have documents, they have content.
It'd
What
be
else?
files, but instead of upload, it'd be create
Create new, and then you could collaborate around it.
Sure.
Yeah,
And it shows up in the Chatter feed or whatever.
I honestly don't think they're going to go on that path.
This is all speculative.
I think
of
this
course.
is Safe Harbor T-shirt.
Whatever.
We
don't know anything.
Yeah. I think this is just for the technology so they can build it into one of the existing products. I don't really feel like they want to go down to content creation. I mean, they've stayed so far away from it. In fact, even they had a content creation product that they killed off. They had the content, the permissioner. Wow.
The presentation
builder. It was the only thing in Salesforce that you create content with, right? Maybe quotes, not really. I mean, there's nothing really that, other than, using something like Conga, nothing really gets created as sort of structured content. Sure, data is captured in Salesforce a lot, but no one really creates,
You don't create a document.
Right. You upload a document. You attach a document.
Yeah.
So, interesting. I don't know. I feel like it's more for the other side. I feel like it's much more for Chatter, Chatter and Chatter technologies, if they have some IP, or maybe they just understand the space really well because they've been doing it, so it helps them maybe go. I think Chatter, there is in Chatter Messenger, is they're going to offer, I think they have multiple chats, right? But you can't have 2 chats going at the same time. You can have
group chats.
You can have a group chat, but you can't have
2 chats going
right.
at once.
I think that's the limitation. So where you and I might be talking, and I might be talking to someone else, that scenario won't be handled in Chatter Messenger. So I feel like they have a long way to go, especially getting into the instant messaging space when it's a 20-year-old technology now. I feel like maybe they need to catch up, and this is just a way of getting some people understand the space very well. But yeah, possibly, maybe it's a way just to bring out Chatter, and maybe they bring in something like Chatter files, and then so inside a Chatter group, you can start a file and then real-time collaborate around it. Maybe. Is it interesting? Interesting. Yes?
Yeah, let's do it. I want that right now.
All right, and that's it. So let's get to our CloudFocus App Pick of the week.
Okay. Does that mean I go?
That means you go.
All right. So I'm training.
What are you training for?
I'm training for a challenge in October.
Okay.
I'm starting now.
Okay.
This challenge is called Tough Mudder.
Yes, it
I'm
is.
sure people listening have heard of it.
I had never heard of it.
I had never heard of it either, but I tell people and they're like, "Yeah, I know that."
Really?
Yeah. Like more. It's crazy. I keep telling people about it, and they're like, "I've already heard of that."
Oh, okay.
Like, you're not telling me anything new.
Okay.
So it's this thing. It's 10 to 12 miles long. You run. You got to do these obstacles, and they're crazy obstacles designed by like the British intelligence something or other. It's crazy.
Right.
It's ludicrous.
Yes.
I should not be doing this
Right.
at my tender old age. But I don't run.
Right.
So doing a 10 to 12 mile challenge is a challenge if you don't run.
Right.
So I needed to start running, and I didn't really know where to start. I mean, obviously, any idiot could just be like, I'll just go run, right? But I wanted to like do it in a way that was structured so that I would build the stamina over time to be able to run a distance, and not just because I know myself, if I just went outside and started running, I could run for like 3 minutes and I'll be done.
Right.
It's sad, but true.
Okay.
So I went on the iPhone.
Yes, I've heard of this device.
And I said, I wrote in like, I went into like the exercise and running section.
Yep.
And I found this app called Couch to 5K.
Yep.
Okay. And it's a 9-week program, which is not going to take me 9 weeks because I'm already like, I want to do it every day. And it's like, it's meant to, I'm not couch. Like I'm beyond,
I was about to say.
like I'm beyond couch. I do
you're-
things. I play sports.
Right.
I'm not obese on the couch.
For all of you who have not met Justin in person, he is not. He is a semi-physically fit person.
Yeah, I'm not like couch,
You're not couch.
Like I could get off the couch. So like I've done the first, like it's meant to do 3.
Good thing that's the first challenge in the Tough Mudder is get off the couch.
Get off the couch.
Get off the couch.
They should do that. So it's meant to you're supposed to do it 3 times a week. You
Okay.
run 3 times a week. But it's not really a run. It sort of gets you through like how to build up to being able to run for 30 straight minutes.
Right.
And it starts with 30-minute workout that sort of goes back and forth. And the great thing about it is, there's tons of these apps that track your stuff when you're running on the iPhone. But it's got a few things that really one, it's got the methodology built into it. So it's got the training aspect of how to get you up to running the 5K.
Right.
Or 30 straight minutes, which could be more than 5K.
Hopefully.
Secondly, it has, the ability to, track using the GPS. It tracks your thing.
Nice.
And keeps it for you each time you do it. And it allows you to play music from your iPhone, but since it's a program, it's like run a minute, walk a minute and a half. Run a minute, walk a minute and a half.
Does it tell you
Yes,
in
you
your
have
ears?
trainers.
Nice.
And it tells you when to stop doing one thing and start doing the next. Tells you when you're halfway done. It has a lot of nice little features built into it, and it captures it as a log. Pretty good. I've used it now for the last week. I've finished week 1. I've got 8 more weeks to go, but I'm pretty sure I'll get there before 8 weeks because I'll just keep going.
Right, well, don't go too fast. You're gonna blow out your,
My knees might go.
Yeah,
but,
your knees might go.
But anyway, it's called Couch to 5K. You can find it on the web at c25k.com.
Yes.
And you can get it in the
How much
App
was it?
Store. I don't remember. It was under $5.
Okay. Well worth it if you want to.
If you want to get in shape and you don't know how, this will give you the method for how. What I did not want to do was just go outside, start running, because it'd last 10 minutes.
Right. Well, it's also nice just to have a goal, and again, it sounds like it does a lot of
sets a goal
neat
for
stuff.
you,
Yeah.
sets the tracking for you.
Nice.
Tracks how long you went, miles, your how many minute miles you're running.
Very cool.
Although it didn't seem very accurate, because I'll give it a little knock, because it said I went 3.75 miles the last time I went out with 30 minutes, but half of that's walking. So there's no way I did 3.75 miles in 30 minutes with half walking, half running.
And you're not supposed to take cabs in between the different spots, right?
What?
Yeah, so maybe that was, you can't just jump in a cab.
I think the calculation was a little off, but
Okay.
whatever. The training's what I wanted it for, and it works. So
Cool.
pretty cool.
All right, Couch to 5K, available for probably a whole bunch of platforms, including...
Yeah, I just have the iPhone.
Right. We still have to get that Android device in here so we can test things on Android.
You know what I do need is one of those straps that like you could put around your arm to like hold the iPhone in.
Oh, yes.
When you're running, because
Maybe you
put it
can
in my
find
pocket.
one, and you can make that your pick next week.
Put it in your pocket, and it's like bouncing around. That's no good.
Don't want that.
So I'm like holding it in my hand.
Yeah, I don't want to do that
I
either.
could very easily fall or drop it or
Right.
whatever. So I need to get one of those like armband straps for
You
it.
can ask the other guy who runs with his iPhone every single day.
Is that you?
No, I don't run with my iPhone. I either run with
The
iPod
partner
Nano.
who shall be named,
Yes.
remain nameless. He runs with his iPhone.
Yes, he runs with
and
an
he has
iPhone.
that thing.
Yes, he does.
I'm just gonna go to the Apple Store later and just buy one.
Good, and maybe you can review it and bring it as your app pick of the week next week.
It'll
Since
be
we've
my
gone into
hardware. It'll be my hardware pick of the week.
The CFHPD.
Yeah, it has a
whatever.
different hashtag.
All right, and mine is actually something I thought we had picked this at some point, but we hadn't.
No kidding, we really didn't?
I searched. Well, we couldn't have picked this because it's now updated, but it's LinkedIn for the iOS. Now, why am I picking LinkedIn for the iOS? Because it's been out forever. Well, and it has been out forever, but it's also been crappy for a long time. So the original iOS, the iPhone version, LinkedIn for the iPhone, originally was like, it was just bad. I'm sorry, but it had like 3 buttons and you could see your thing, and LinkedIn has really moved into, really they're trying to create a social network, but a networking social network. So they've been a lot of stuff about stories and sharing and reading, and one of my favorite apps that I've definitely picked on the show before is Zeit. And so what Zeit I love about it is because I can go and I can kind of swipe from left to right and kind of just read stuff, right? And it kind of brings it into categories. So LinkedIn for the iOS, now on the iPad, takes your LinkedIn feeds and makes it into sort of a nice, sort of a magazine. So they arrange it. Here, I'll even let you see it.
I'll play
so
with
they arrange it in sort of a...
This is all in the LinkedIn app?
Yep.
It looks like Flipboard or Zeit or one of those.
Yes, exactly. So, yep. So here's the cool thing. So I've actually been enjoying this when reading it, and it mixes in like people. It mixes in stories and then things. So it'll mix in like people who have changed their status or who have linked in with other people.
Yep.
So it's a nice way to go through LinkedIn. I find it much better than even their website. I really enjoy it. And then I found out this is all 100% HTML5. This is an HTML5 app. Like the whole thing inside is all HTML5. So I was very impressed when I found that out. It behaves nice. It works great. It's a great way to read LinkedIn. And again, it has a sort of a nice.
It's fast.
It's fast for HTML5, right?
Yeah.
So that's it. LinkedIn for iOS is now it's a universal app now. You should try it.
I'm reading through this. Did you know Google News has a new look, and it's not just cosmetic?
No.
It's gonna have stronger ties to Google+.
Yeah, man. People are not happy with their stuff in the Google+. I tell you, get in on Google+, because eventually all your plus belong to Google. All right, so that's it. Remember to go to blog.arkusinc.com. If you get redirected, if you go to blog.arkusinc.com and you get immediately redirected to arkusinc.com/blog, that is intentional. You have not been hacked. We did a little URL changing in our server because it just helps out. So you go to where the content is. You should not even notice it, but if you do, don't worry about it. But go to blog.arkusinc.com. You can always subscribe to that to it there on the RSS feed, or you can also comment on any of the blogs. We put up our blog posts once a week, and we also put up the CloudFocus Weekly. So lots of content up there. Follow the company at twitter.com/ArkusInc. I'm at twitter.com/JasonMAtwood. And Justin here is at twitter.com/JustEdelstein. And we're on Facebook, facebook.com/ArkusInc. Which, again, if you're in Facebook and want to follow us there, that's great. We post the stuff up there as well. We are also on Google+. I can't give you the URL because there's no way to give an URL yet.
/EW249XV9er.
That's it. And then for the podcast, if you want to subscribe in iTunes, great place to do so. Or obviously, you could use Instacast, which we have both fallen in love with.
Oh, man. I think that's the best CloudFocus App Pick of the week that has ever been picked.
You're welcome.
So good.
All right. So until next week, and as we always say here in CloudFocus Nation, enjoy those cloudy days.